Hey there, this is Perch, and this show is going to be a little complicated. I have a couple like this, but this one's going to be a little complicated because I'm going to go through this show without naming names. And some of you are going to go, "That is BS. You should name names," but you'll understand why I don't want to and why I won't for this show. So the topic, well, I mean, if you clicked on a link, you know the topic. The topic is conventions, and particular um, people who get themselves into trouble at conventions, and why do they, what kind of impact it is, what kind of, I'm going to tell a couple horror stories here that, you may be able to, if you really dig in and do the research, you'll be able to piece together who's who. But I want to tell you this show is almost more for creators and less for fans, but I think it applies to everyone. So let me start by giving some general advice. In life, you will have a job. And in that job, occasionally you may be sent on a business trip. And that, or a convention, or a conference, or, to go work with another company or whatever. There's a lot of reasons why you may travel to do your job. And depending on what kind of field you're in, you may do this regularly. There are some jobs where you do, a convention a month and you travel constantly. And there are other jobs where, it's a big treat. And after 20 years of working in the shop, you get to go to a convention and it's like, it's amazing. It's that time. So whichever end of the spectrum you're in, here's one bit of advice that I'll give you that is true no matter what field you're in. But the more professional the field, the more important it is. You are never, when you go for a convention, when you go to a conference, when you go off site, you are never off the clock. Don't fall into the trap of thinking that, hey, it's 5 o'clock, the day's over. Because if I was home back at the office, I'd be going home, heading to the house, to the apartment, wherever you're going, stopping at the cannabis shop, loading up on whatever you're going to do, and going to have myself an awesome time. I just passed a shop selling pot. So that's, literally, I look up, there's a cannabis shop right there. Anyway, Washington. Anyway, the key here is that you may think to yourself, if I was at home, I would be punching out, I'd be off the clock, I'd be on my own free time. Here's the trap a lot of people fall into. When you go to a convention, when you go to a show and work sends you, you are technically, even though your work may tell you otherwise, you are technically on the clock the entire time, meaning night, morning, all the time. And the reason is the work paid for your hotel, they paid for your restaurant, they paid for your drinks, they paid for all of that. And you don't have to go and be a saint. You don't have to go and I'll drink just milk tonight, please. You don't need to do any of that. But just be aware that unlike normal home, if you go out at night with some colleagues and you go out drinking and you're at this convention that work sent you to, and you get super drunk and you, on the way back to your hotel, you decide to throw a brick through somebody's window, you may get fired. You probably will get fired if you get caught. You cannot go to HR and say, well, I was off the clock. It will not work. Um, so you just need to be careful. You need to be aware that while you're traveling, you're not on special magic free time. You're still technically with the company at that point. And again, you may disagree. You may say, no, I work in HR. It's not the case. Yeah, good luck to you. You may also say, yeah, but if they fire me or get me into trouble, I will go to a lawyer and I will sue them and all the rest. Yeah, you could do that, and you may win. But get ready. You're still going to be fired. You're still going to have to put up a bunch of cash to sue your company. You're still going to be in a horrible situation for a long time. So save yourself that energy and don't mislead yourself that you're still on the clock. So what does it have to do with comics? Well, comic conventions are, in my mind, in a lot of ways, they're interesting traps for people who haven't really figured out the whole professional thing. And what I mean by that is, you may think that you're going to a show. You're going to a show where chances are you're going to be treated like a bit of a celebrity, because you are. If you're a creator and you go to this show, a lot of people are there to see you. They're going to want your autograph. They're going to want to buy things from you. They're going to be really, even if they don't terribly like your work, there's still a sense of you are a name, a famous name, somebody on comics. You're somebody who loves comics. You're a celebrity. And so, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how much you like it, you're going to be a center of attention for the entire show. If your face is well known, then bad news, even if after you leave your table at Artist Alley or wherever you happen to go, you're going to get mobbed at restaurants and other things. And that can be really heady, very exciting, really cool for you. But it can also lead you to do dumb things. And dumb things include believing that you're invulnerable, believing that you are, bigger than life, um, acting out and saying crazy things because you think you're untouchable because you're a celebrity. And none of that is actually true. And at comic conventions, it's pretty common. And when I say pretty common, I would say 100% of the time at every major convention I've ever been to, where somebody in the mix acts like a fool and does severe damage to their career. And the severe damage comes in one of two forms. Either it's immediate or it's slow acting poison. But either way, the end result is the same. You are screwed. So an example of immediate is the various, hey, you get drunk and you're hanging out with a bunch of coworkers, and one of them is, the opposite gender, and you decide now would be a good time to get flirty with them and and take off your pants, because how funny is it to take off your pants? And the opposite sex, well, anybody really, frankly, in the vicinity, but the person that you are really trying to impress with your take off your pants move is not impressed. And now you have a sexual harassment, really bad situation going on that your employer is going to have to deal with. And maybe that you are fired, maybe you are now blacklisted from certain books. I've seen that stuff go down really fast. I was at a bar in San Diego, and there were a couple creators and editors hanging out at a table, and one gentleman got up on the table, took off his pants, and was like, "Look at my," and then he described what people were looking at, and people are laughing, ah ha 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 ha. But I'm looking over there at that table, and I'm seeing the people who are laughing, and you can see that there's an expression. The laughter didn't meet their eyes, and you could tell the laughter did not meet their eyes. And I'm like, well, that guy's screwed. I was talking to some other folks I was sitting at the table with, and I'm like, that guy is that guy's done. He doesn't realize that he's done, and everybody's giggling and having a good time. And I think less than 3 weeks later, the person's they'd quietly stopped doing work with this person, just done. And I think 2 years later at a convention, I was in a group, and this guy was there, and now he's relegated to doing, his career is on the upswing, and now it was on the struggling to find work swing. And he goes, I don't know what happened. And somebody at the table was like, "Hey, it's that time you took off your pants." And like, there's some direct feedback. And the guy's like, "No, I didn't." Everybody thought that was hilarious. And I'm like, I go, but there's laughing in the moment, and then there's going back to the hotel room and thinking about the guy who took off his pants, and you're done. And the guy's like, screw you, that's not true. I'm like, well, okay, whatever. But these things happen, and they happen with regularity. You put people who are not used to big social situations, and you put alcohol or whatever else. I mean, pot's legal in California now, so that's going to be some extra shenanigans this year at old SDCC. But it's people who forget the inhibitions go away, and everything's really funny, and you've been treated like a celebrity all day, and now you're going to make some mistake that's going to kill your career. And like I said, that was an example of fast. An example of slow was, again, under the influence of some alcohol and the adventure of being in a huge. I mean, the other thing that goes on is when you're at a convention and you're surrounded by thousands of people all the time, it makes your brain crazy. The human body is not meant to stand in a auditorium with thousands of other people for 8 hours and not go a little bit nuts. And sure enough, people will do this, and then they will go out and then they'll blow off steam. Again, thinking, I'm not on the clock, and hey, it's a party, and let me get kind of drunk here. And it's very common. There was an editor who would routinely, every show, get a little bit more handsy. And by handsy, I mean, oh, I'll do a back massage here. Hey, I'll do, well, it doesn't start with a back massage. It usually starts with like, hey, Hey, friend, I haven't seen in a while. Hey, how about a hug? Let's have a nice close hug. And then I'm gonna kind of do the pat on the back, but then not just pat, but actually do the little like circular rub as well with a pat on the back. And then I'm just gonna go straight to like just massaging, and then and then you're sitting there and you're like, ugh, creepy. It's like, ah, it's shoulders. Shoulders are fine. Hey, how about the back? How about the sides? Man, your sides are tense. And how about I watched this one guy like, hey, this was his game. And it's again that when you're drunk, game always feels like it's really, really you got a good game, but you don't. The game still sucks. So the guy's like, hey, did you know the most tense part of the body is the thighs? That's where you really need the massage. And I'm like, uh, and he always stopped himself just short of being immediately fired for sexual harassment, but he was racking up this long resume of just being a super creep that was going to come back to haunt him. And it took a while, but it did. And it was slow acting poison, in that increasingly fewer and fewer people want to work with him. And the slow acting poison in many cases is worse because for the immediate, you're screwed, you did something bad, you do have a chance after the dust settles to come back a few years later or whatever and say, hey, I made a mistake. Here's what happened. I've learned from it, blah, blah, blah. And oftentimes, second chances are given. Well, a lot of times in comics, there's second, third, fourth chances that are given to people who have these moments. But when you just become a creeper over a long period of time, then it's worse because you don't sense the danger coming. So you just keep going. Meanwhile, in the background, outside of your purview, if you will, you're getting a reputation, and that reputation is not one that goes away quickly. And that's the bigger career suicide. But there have been a lot of careers killed off at conventions of all forms, tech conventions, comic conventions, the HR travel, yachting convention. And it's because people misunderstand what they're doing. So be smart yourself. Don't get yourself in that situation. It's toxic. It's death to your career. You're killing yourself. And just be smart. Kind of the counterbalance, the positive glass half full thing. Bit of advice I can give you is if you can go to a convention and be professional and get work done and meet fans and network a little bit and not become a drunk a-hole, you will be surprised how your career will benefit. There's a lot of people, like we've been talking about careers that are derailed. There's a lot of people whose careers are made at conventions by simply not acting like a dope, especially if the other people in your group are acting like dopes, and you are able to go in and just like, hey, don't be Boy Scout, have a beer, enjoy, do what you got to do. But if you can present yourself as, yeah, I'm appreciative to the company for sending me on this event, and I'm gonna just try and get some things out of it, and not be a problem. You'd be amazed at how your career will flourish because you're not that guy, and that's anyway. Bit of advice there. Hey, what do you think? You ever gone to? You got some crazy stories yourself? Do you know exactly who I'm talking about? I'm sure you. I'm sure one of them. I'm sure that second one everybody knows. But leave me some comments. Let me know what you're thinking, what you'd like to hear more of. Subscribe, hit the bell for notification. Check to make sure you're still subscribed. If for whatever reason you got bounced off or who knows why. And come over to social media. Comic Perch, love to hear your suggestions for more things to talk about. Thanks for listening.